All right, welcome back, everybody. So we left it off. We got the beats put in here. We're just going to go with our cycled beats so far, but we need to get ourselves some effects put on these other instruments, which of course are on the red track, our bass instrument, the low sound. On the purple track, we've got synthesizer, which is very 80s instrument. Brass synthesizers were very popular in the days of Madonna and Whitney Houston and all of that. And right below, we have an FM synthesizer, which is another type of 80s synthesizer, which is a special type of electric keyboard like these. All right, so let's take a look at our directions right over here. It says we should add some distortion to the red bass track. So we're going to scroll right up to where it says bass. There's our bass track. I labeled it for you. And I'm going to highlight it. Now, to add effect to this is what we're going to do. We're going to go right down to our bottom left corner, and we're going to notice there is a little button called FX Effects. And if we click that, it's going to open up this little tray. Now, we have an option for some presets here, which we can explore later on. But for right now, we're going to click Add Effect. Now, the directions, of course, did ask that we put in a distortion on the track. So we're going to go right down here to where it says distortion. Now, obviously, we can try through a few different ones of these. I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to put a nice buzz on this. So we're going to go with that, see how it sounds. Before we get too far with it, we want to solo the track we're adding the effect to make sure we like how it sounds, and then just click play. If you want to turn it off, all you have to do is click the little power button right here. And then when you turn the power button back on, of course, you can adjust how much effect you have. I personally like the effect of that. It adds a nice growl to the bass, a little bit of some attitude. Now we can move on to our next direction. So next thing we got to take a look at is we're going to add some reverb to our brass synthesizer track, which of course, to get, we should now turn our effect off. Now to turn the effect off, what we're going to do is go right back down to the bottom left corner where it says FX Effects and just click that button, making sure it's not green anymore. And all of a sudden, boom, we're back at our master track mixer. Now, we said we need to get to the brass track, which of course is the purple track right here. So I'm going to highlight that one, and we're going to add a reverb to it. Probably the most commonly used effect in all of music. Even though this track already has a little reverb already put on it, if I unsolo our bass and then just solo our brass, you'll hear it. When you listen to that, there's a little bit of a ring through it. That's some reverb. But we're actually going to try a little something here and just absolutely douse it in reverb. Like somebody who's pretty popular in music right now always does on his vocal tracks, just absolutely douse it in reverb. So it almost sounds like it's in a swimming pool. To do this, we're going to click, of course, our FX Effects down here and Add Effect. From our tray of options, we're going to actually go right to Reverb. Now, we've got three different options here. We've got a Spacemaker, a Spring Reverb, and a Studio Reverb. Now, let me just explain what each one of these are. Studio Reverb is something like you'd hear a lot today on just about any single song you hear on the radio. It's a very common effect to put on a human voice to make a singer sound a little better. It's a really nice balance to apply to a track if you're just trying to give it just a little bit of a polish, like almost like that little bit of Photoshop, if you will. Just kind of polish it off, give it a nice little ring. Spring reverb comes from old guitar amplification, when they would actually take a box of springs that would have the sound come through it, and it had a microphone, and as the springs would ring, it would kind of add this little reverberating echo to it. And it was very common on guitar amplifiers. Well, that's not really what we're going to use for this particular one. We're going to try out the Spacemaker, because we said we wanted to absolutely douse this in reverb. The idea with the Spacemaker is it just sounds like we're in outer space. The sound just keeps going and going and going with nothing to stop it. So we're going to click Spacemaker. Now we've got a few options here. We've got the room size, which is basically, imagine a church. You know how churches have a lot of big echo in it. The bigger the church, the more echo in a lot of ways. But we don't want to make it too much, so we can adjust this a little bit. Really, the mix right here is how much of it blends with the actual original track, how much effect there is for the track. Kind of like when you're cooking, you don't want to have too much of one ingredient. but that's how you can control the mix there. And really, with any of the knobs on any of these effects, it's really just important for you to just give it a chance and mess with it. You may find that it just ruins the sound. Just bring it back, all right? But the best way to understate effects is just experiment with them. I've spent a lot of time with some professionals, and really, there's very few rhyme or reason rules to effects. It's just kind of a matter of figuring them out. So here we are. We've got this on. We've got our power button on for it. Let's just take a listen if we solo this track. Let's see how it sounds. Now let's see what happens if I absolutely douse it in reverb. I'll just take the mix, we'll turn it up. We're not going to max it out because we don't want to go too overkill, but we'll bring it up to 80%. Let's see if we can hear the difference. You can hear how it kind of gets this big, ethereal, almost just kind of a glow to it because the sound just starts to radiate out. That's kind of what a reverb effect does. It's a very, very, very common effect. You may start noticing it when you listen to some songs on your iPod or on the radio. For our final step in the directions here, we're going to add any effect preset we like to the FM synth track, which of course is the green track. Now to get to this, we're just going to close out our FX effects. You can do it down here, or you can even click this little X up here. There's two ways of doing it, guys. Now, of course, we need to unsolo our brass synth track from before. Now we're going to find the green track, which is of course right here, the FM synth track. What we're going to do is once we have it highlighted, we'll open up our effects tray. Now, rather than clicking add effect and just picking it from a big list, we're going to go with a preset here. And the presets can be found right over here on the left where it says none. If you click that, we've got a whole bunch of them in here. Now, from this, we can either thin this out, we can boost it up. This is where I really want you guys to just come in here and just explore. Mess around with it. You find one you like, remember it, and then go back and try some other ones out until you find something that you really think is going to sound good with the mix. Just have fun with it, guys. I'm just asking you to be creative here. I think for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to pick the hi-fi comp, which is short for compressor, kind of squeeze the sound down a little bit in the mix. I'm not even going to mess with this much yet. I just want to hear how it sounds. So once I've selected it, I'm going to hit the X. I'm going to solo our track and go right back from the beginning. Hear how it sounds. Now, of course, that's a little different from before I had it, when, of course, without the effect on there, it just sounds like this. If I add it on, and as you guys get in here and get to mess with it, I think you'll start to really hear it a little bit better, maybe if you have your own computer, your own headphones, because it's a very subtle adjustment that most of these effects do. Most of the effects are not too over the top in your face or aggressive. They're very subtle. So that may get lost in translation a little bit when I record it on this video. But as you guys get in here, mess around with them. Check them out. All right? I think you guys have some fun with it. Now I'm going to stop talking here and give you guys the next few minutes. Just get in here and mess with it. Have fun with it, and make sure when you're done, you want to go right up to the top corner and click save. Now we're going to meet back here in a few more minutes and just wrap the day up. All right, guys, take the next minute or so here and just get yourself caught up with all the effects on your tracks. Just follow those directions and you'll get right caught up. All right, guys, I'll let you know when this time's up so to get off to your next class. Work. All right, guys, no worries if you haven't gotten all caught up yet. There'll be some time for that later this afternoon. Let's get off to our next class, and I'll see you guys later on. Thanks. Peace.